All right. So welcome, guys. Welcome to my Discover BFR webinar. The biggest fitness breakthrough you haven't tried yet. That's not true. Some of you I know on this call have tried it, but it still kind of surprises me how few people have know about BFR or have tried it at this point. And my goal is to make it more well known, get the word out there, because I really believe it is a life-changing technique. So first, let's start. What is it? I mean, it's basically, it sounds intimidating, right? That's blood flow restriction sounds maybe a little counterintuitive when you think about exercise. Why would we want to restrict our blood flow? But it turns out our body adapts to that stress in some very powerful ways that create some big changes quickly, and also makes it more accessible for people to really gain strength. So basically you have straps. This is the type of strap I use. I'll talk about that more later, but you just put them on your upper arm. You Velcro it up on the arm. You pump some air into it to a specified pressure, and you have them on your arms or your legs, or as you acclimate, you can actually have them on your arms and legs at the same time, and it really starts to ramp up the challenge and the results there. But although it sounds intimidating, once you have them on, it's really not that intimidating. These bands are pretty comfortable. You feel some pressure on your arm, but it's not painful. What it does is, because there's pressure on your arm, it slows down your venous blood flow and causes your muscles to fatigue more quickly. That fatigue causes more and more muscle fibers to get involved in an exercise that normally wouldn't take that many muscle fibers. So a light weight is perceived by your body to be a heavy weight. So you can get results using lighter weights, the same as if you were using very heavy weights, because your muscles start to fatigue. That sends a signal to your brain that your brain thinks, oh my gosh, we're in a metabolic stress in our muscles. We need to produce anabolic hormones, human growth hormone, IGF-1, which helps with protein synthesis, which gets our whole body stronger, helps with blood flow to the brain. There's lots of great benefits. It was discovered back in the 60s or 70s in Japan, just happenstance, by a guy who was at a prayer service, and when he got up, his calves, because he was kneeling, he started to get a burn in his calves as if he was working out. And it kind of triggered in his mind, what's happening here? And he started playing around with this concept of blood flow restriction. Ironically or coincidentally, he ended up breaking his leg in a skiing accident a few years later. And when he was in a full leg cast, he actually put blood flow restriction on his upper leg. And they were blown away when they took the cast off that he did not have atrophy in his leg. And that's when it kind of really started. And it was really developed in Japan over the last 40 years. And it came to the US sort of in the early 2000s. But there was still a lot of research going on the different types of bands that should be used, the different amount of pressure that's appropriate. Was it safe? Was it not safe? There had been a history of some issues with blood flow restriction training. And if you research it, most of the research is hugely positive, but there is some research that shows there could be some risk. Most of that risk is associated with people using bands that occluded your arterial flow and could cause a stasis of your blood, which then could increase the risk of clots. The bands that I'll talk about today, and there's other bands out there, it's impossible to occlude your arterial flow with these bands if you use them as prescribed. And so that basically takes away any of the risk associated with BFR. So now all the studies are coming out using the right protocol with the bands, that they are as safe as regular exercise. And they really, really have great benefits. So in a way, if it's now scientifically proven that it's safe, simple, incredibly effective at building muscle and improving cardio endurance in very short workouts, kind of sounds a little too good to be true, right? I mean, trust me, when I first heard about this, I was a bit skeptical. Like, really, how is this really going to give that big of benefits? But I went to a seminar. I was using the bands for a couple of years, actually. On my arms, I had a couple surgeries, and was getting some atrophy. And I knew from personal experience that with very light weight, I was gaining strength and hypertrophy in my muscles quite easily. And I was pretty surprised by that. But I went to a conference this summer and sat in on a presentation that literally blew my mind. I've been in this industry for 30 years, and I'm pretty sure I've never said that about anything else. I'm not someone that gets stuck on gimmicks or goes with the trends. I'm all about, foundational training and really following the science. But this blew my mind because it was a different take on the science of training that I'd ever heard before. My thoughts around how to train myself and my clients immediately started to shift. I started thinking about it differently. And when I came home from that conference, I immediately was like, okay, I need to put this in my program in a bigger way. And for those of you that are my clients or in my groups, I came back from that conference so excited and just like, hey, let's do this, because I really, really was impressed by what I heard. So before I get a little deeper into BFR, let me back up for a second here and tell you a little bit more about my personal story. Since I'm a trainer, a lot of people really just think fitness comes easy to me. But I actually been through a pretty big physical journey that has not been easy. I broke my hip skiing when I was 13. It healed at that time, and I competed in athletics at a very high level. But right around my mid-20s, I started having hip issues because of that break, and ends up that break caused a lot of damage in my hip joint. And I literally limped through my 30s. This was a pretty hard adjustment emotionally, coming from being, an athlete and someone who was very active. I just lost the ability to do a lot of things. I couldn't run. I couldn't hike. There were a lot of movements I couldn't do. I was in chronic pain. And here I was, a trainer training clients all day long, and just feeling like I couldn't do that much with my body. I went into a pretty good depression about that, because being physical is such a big part of my life. I put off a hip replacement as long as possible, but finally had one about 10 years ago when I was 43. The hip replacement helped my pain, but it made my hip really unstable. And so I lost about 10 pounds of muscle in this last 10 years. Despite the fact that I'm a trainer, I work out religiously, I lift weights, but I was not able to lift heavy enough to build and maintain my muscle fiber in my lower body because of my hip. So after the conference that I went to, and I got home from that, I started like, okay, I'm going to be doing BFR on my legs now, full body. I'm really going to focus on this. And shockingly, literally within about a month of using the bands, my right leg, which had been atrophied for about 8 years, had genuinely, literally caught up almost completely to my left leg. And I was blown away by this. Like, in 4 weeks, this leg that I've been trying for years to get stronger was able to improve that much that quickly. And that's when I really was like, wow, this is life-changing. It's life-changing for me, and I need to figure out how I can get more people involved in this program. So let's talk about, how did that happen? So how did I gain strength that easily in 4 weeks when I'd been working at it before? This is the key to BFR. So normally when we strength train, to get really good benefits, get strength benefits, human growth hormone benefits, we need to work out really hard, lift heavy weights, really push ourselves to deep fatigue. I used to do that all the time in my 20s. But as I got older, as my hip started limiting me more, I was no longer able to do that. So I was still strength training, but I was really only accessing about 30% of my muscle fibers, mostly my type 1 muscle fibers. And so I had a limit of how much strength I could gain. When I started using BFR, and the reducing the blood flow limited the oxygen in my muscles, it forced my muscle fibers to fatigue more quickly. So the muscle fibers that normally could lift the light load started fatiguing and failing. And therefore, other muscle fibers got brought in. And this is key. My type 2 muscle fibers that are strong and powerful muscle fibers started getting brought in, even though I was only lifting light loads. And because of that, I gained strength quickly in that leg, because I was waking up dormant muscle fibers that hadn't been accessed in years. And now I was able to access this muscle fibers, and that leg got stronger quickly. And now I can actually lift more weight with that leg. I'm not just stronger. I'm not just stronger because of BFR. I am able to do more in my life. I'm able to lift more weight with that leg now, because those muscle fibers are now stronger. So this is huge. This is one of the huge benefits to BFR, is being able to gain strength under light loads. And this is huge, especially for people as we age, or if you have injuries or any limitations and we just can't push ourselves the way we used to, this is a game-changing technique. The other huge benefit about BFR is the fact that it allows you to release a lot more human growth hormone that you normally can access. Human growth hormone is a key anti-aging hormone. It's an anabolic hormone. It's one of the most important in our bodies. It helps to heal all tissue. So muscle, tendon, bone. It's been shown to help heal bones quicker and help with bone density, skin. Human growth hormone is a great hormone. And of course, as we age with most things, it starts being produced less and less in our body, and it becomes harder and harder for our body to access it. But with BFR training, because you're getting such a profound fatigue in your muscle, it sends a stronger signal to your brain that you need to produce human growth hormone to adapt to that stress. So there have been studies done, and I'll touch on some studies today, but I'll send some studies out in my follow-up for those of you that really want to dig into more of the science. There's a lot of science out there, but it has been proven that using BFR produces a lot more human growth hormone. Many times, there's one study that I think shows 25 times the amount of human growth hormone as the same workout without the BFR bands. So it's quite a profound benefit. It also, there's other anabolic hormones we produce, IGF-1, which is great for protein synthesis and helps us not only gain strength, build our bones, and it's also really good for brain health. Cerebral blood flow starts to increase with BFR training, which is great for brain health. And the kind of third huge bucket of benefits is how it improves our vascular system. So it's been known for years, and it kind of first came out, BFR first came out as a way to build muscle, and bodybuilders were using it and Olympic athletes were using it. But now they're starting really to see more and more how much it's helping the vascular system. And it helps your body produce nitric oxide, which thins the blood and expands our arteries. That's because our body knows it's like, we don't have enough oxygen in our muscles, so we need to get more oxygen by expanding our vascular system and thinning the blood. And that helps get blood to harder to reach areas, so that can help with injury and healing and pain. Because our vascular system is becoming more flexible again, many people experience lowered blood pressure. It reduces risk of clots and strokes, and again, increases blood flow to the brain. It's been shown to increase VEGF, VEGF, which is a hormone in our body that helps to build vascular, so it actually creates new vascularity and repairs the vascular system. So it really leads to overall a healthy vascular system in your body. And one of the crazy results that I've experienced myself and heard many people talk about is in very short cardio workouts, like I'm talking 6 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, you can improve your VO2 max. And this is huge. VO2 max is a key marker of health as we age, because it's the volume of oxygen our body can use, which determines how much work we can do. As we age, our VO2 max goes down and we get less and less able to do as much work. But your VO2 max improves with BFR training because your vascular system becomes healthy. Our body starts getting better at delivering oxygen to our muscles, which is a huge benefit. That's a huge part of VO2, is how well can your body deliver oxygen to your muscles. So there's been more recent research done on the vascular system, and I think you'll continue to see more and more research on BFR coming up. It's been exponential in the last few years versus 10 or 20 years ago. There were just a few studies on BFR, and now there are many, many studies being done because the science community is really starting to see the benefits that this technique provides, and they really want to understand more and more detail about how this technique works and in all the cases that it can be used. So who do I see this benefiting the most? So first of all, pretty much anyone can benefit from BFR. It started in the rehab world, in hospitals. It was used to help patients prevent muscle wasting if they were in the stuck in the hospital for a while. It's been used for surgeries, ACL repairs, to help with atrophy or help people gain strength faster by using light loads. So that's been proven over and over. So anyone can use it, but it's been mostly in the rehab setting, or it's been in sort of the athlete, Olympic athlete, professional athlete setting. And I think just now it's starting to get more into the fitness setting. And I'll talk more about why I think it's coming into the fitness world now a little bit later. But in terms of who I think it can benefit most from, I kind of touched on this earlier, but I think the people who aren't able to push themselves any longer hard enough to maximize their health and strength are the people that can really benefit the most. So if you think about an Olympic athlete, if I think about myself when I was in my 20s, I could work pretty hard. I pushed myself really hard. I was probably producing plenty of human growth hormone. I was strong. I was building muscle. I no longer can push myself that way. So for me, I'm limited enough that using BFR helps me to get gains I could never get without using BFR. Now, someone in the 20s might be able to get 95% of the gains without using BFR, and BFR might help give them that last little bit. They could use it to just get a little more atrophy, a little more fatigue to get muscle building. They could use it to get a little more human growth hormone, but they're already able to do that. But as we age and that gets harder to do, or if you have an injury you're limited by, or arthritis, or any kind of pain that you're limited by, or maybe there's even the fear of getting injured. You don't want to push yourself too hard because you don't want to injure yourself. These are all people that I think can benefit hugely from BFR because you can get the same, if not better results without risking the heavy, heavy loads and the heavy, heavy intensity. If you're someone that's really limited by time, if you have a busy job, kids, whatever the case, you just don't have a lot of time to commit to exercise, even though you know exercise is important, this is a way to get more bang for your buck out of your time because you fatigue so much more quickly with BFR, the workouts are much shorter. So a 10 to 20 minute BFR workout is like spending an hour in the gym without BFR. So it's a huge time saver. It's also super great for travel. You literally can bring your bands in a backpack with you with some exercise tubing, and you can get a full workout in a hotel room, on the beach, wherever you want to be for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and be able to maintain your program and even gain. I know oftentimes when we travel, we fall off our routines, but this makes it a lot easier to be consistent. So who have I worked with? So as soon as I got back from that conference, I started working out. I started using it with clients and friends of mine immediately. I was so excited. I currently have about just over 60 people using the bands, a mix of people that I train in person, people that I train virtually. And the amazing thing is, of these 60 people, anyone that's been using it consistently 2 to 3 days a week, and I've been using it for, a couple months now, I'm hearing the same great results that I had. People are commonly saying how surprised they are at how short the workouts are, yet how fatigued they feel and the benefits they feel. They're surprised at how quickly strength gains come. So honestly, once you start using BFR, if you're using it consistently 3 days a week, within 2 weeks, you'll start to notice a strength difference. It's pretty mind-blowing. And that's because you're accessing these muscle fibers that you don't normally access, or it's very difficult to normally access. So the strength gains come quickly. People say it's easier to maintain because the workouts are so short. Even if they're busy, they're still motivated to do them because they're thinking, I can get a 10-minute workout in. So they're being more consistent with their program. So it's much easier to maintain. I'm hearing my clients say that they feel stronger in their endurance sports. So if you're a runner, if you're a cyclist, these short cardio workouts will support your longer endurance runs or rides, and not have to put as much pounding and stress on your body. People are having less chronic pain. Two of my favorite stories, one of my clients, in her 70s, her mom died of Alzheimer's, and she's been, living in fear that she has the same fate. And she now has a lot more hope because her mental clarity has gone up significantly since using the BFR bands because of the increased cerebral blood flow, the VEGF that's being produced that's helping improve your vascularity. Another of my clients who's 74, she's had 2 knee replacements, and she had shared with me that she was having to crawl out of the tub because of fear of falling. She felt unstable. She felt weak. But within 2 weeks of using the bands, she was no longer having to do that. She felt more confident. She felt stronger. She just had a physical at her doctor, and her doctor, without her saying anything, noticed how much stronger she was and asked her what she was doing. She told me that this has genuinely changed her life. And it's stories like that, that is the reason I'm doing this webinar. I'm doing this webinar because I believe that this technique can really be a game changer for people and change people's lives. It's changed mine. It's changed several of the people I've worked with. And, you know, being someone who's passionate about health and fitness, and I've been a trainer my whole career, seeing this opportunity to really help more people has been inspiring to me. And I'm more excited about being the potential of helping more people than I've been in a long time with this method. So on that note, I'm going to introduce my BFR model. This is Emily. This is my partner, for those who don't know her. Hi. Emily's been doing my BFR program. So as you can see, she has the leg bands on up high on her legs. Go ahead and just put one on the arms on, and we'll do a demo that way. We're just going to do a couple exercises so you can see some of the basic exercises we do in our intro program. And I could kind of explain what's happening as she's doing the exercises. And also this hopefully makes it seem less intimidating to some of you who I know feel like, what is this? It sounds kind of scary. It's really, once you start, very simple to implement. You put these bands on. I like this particular band because you don't need to be connected to any type of motor or cord. It gives you maximum flexibility for what you can do. That's fine. Okay. So we're going to start with the little upper body. So I'm just going to have Emily do a first set of bicep curls. And it's kind of nice that she has the band on one arm and not the other, because after she does a few reps, you might be able to see a little bit of a difference in the arms. If you have the band on appropriately, it is slowing down your venous blood flow. So you will start to see a little more obvious veins in that arm. And you might even see the color in the arm turn a little more pink as more blood is in that arm, because it's not going past the band as fast. It's not being stopped. Blood is still moving past that band, and that's the key to this band. But it is slowing down enough that you're getting more blood in the lower part of the arm. It's also building up lactic acid in the muscle because it's not able to clear as fast. And that's part of the fatigue and burn sensation you get that tells your brain, your muscles in metabolic crisis, and we need to produce human growth hormone, IGF, nitric oxide, all of these things. How you doing up there? She's like, stop talking.
That's a long time.
Yeah. All right. Tell me how you're feeling. What's the difference between the arms that you feel right now?
This one's kind of burning. It feels a little like kind of swollen, I guess.
Yeah.
But this one I could do forever.
Yeah.
This one is
so that's the key. She's using a load that normally without the band, she could do it forever. And that means she's only tapping into, you know, her 20–30% of her type 1 muscle fibers, because they recover with oxygen and they could go for a long, long time. But this arm has the restricted oxygen. So those type 1 muscle fibers that would normally be fine are no longer fine. They're fatiguing and failing. And now more muscle fibers are having to come in to help, and they're fatiguing and failing. And if you really go, so she's done 1 set and that's all I'll have her do today. But if you get more acclimated and you go 2 and 3 sets and you really get that deep burn, you're almost using all of your muscle fibers. So it gets a very thorough burnout of your muscles, which helps to gain that strength. So the next exercise I would do is a tricep extension. Go ahead and turn that way. Yeah. Go ahead and lean it over a little bit farther from the waist. So you can see that that band's pretty tight on her arm. Do you have pain where the band is, or is it just no pressure? Yeah. So you want the band to be tight, but not so much that you're feeling pain. You don't want any tingling in your arm. You would know if it was too tight, it would feel more uncomfortable than we want, and you would just let air out. But it's not a painful exercise. The discomfort is the burn in the work. So that's the part that's hard. It's not so much the band itself that causes any discomfort. It's the burn in the muscle from the fatigue that happens. So we're working the front side of the arm and the back side of the arm so that we're getting burn and hypertrophy there. And then what you would do as you progress, once you get burn and hypertrophy, she's already producing some of the human growth hormone and some of the nitric oxide. We would then move into, we won't do them now, but like push-ups or pulls, where even though you're not working the muscles just below the band, you're working muscles proximal to the band. You're still getting that, benefit of all the human growth hormone, the IGF-1 that's going to build your muscles faster and stronger, even if they're not distal to the band. So that's one common misconception of BFR is like, oh, it only is going to benefit, you know, maybe my biceps and triceps, but that's not true. It actually benefits all the muscles of your body, especially if you start getting the burn first with some isolation and then moving into some more complex or combination movements. So now we'll just move into a couple lower body exercises. Sorry for making you go so long there. Get me talking. Joanne, you know that. Get me talking and I forget all about the time. All right, let's give me some squats. So we start out with just some basic body weight squats. If you're experienced with training and you do heavy squats, you could use weight. One key with BFR is you always want to go significantly lighter than what you do, maybe half the weight you would normally do. You never want to go heavy with BFR. That's not the goal. And that could cause problems because it's because you get so much fatigue, you don't want to injure any of the muscle tissue. So you go half the weight and you do more reps. And that's the key, because the more repetitions you can do during the burn, the more results you get. You think about if you go heavy and you start getting fatigued, you only have a couple reps left before you fail. Where with this, you have many, many reps you can continue to do during the burn. And that's the key to getting the result. How are you feeling now? Getting some burn? Yeah. Where's the burn? Mostly in your quads?
Yeah.
Quads. So what do we do with the legs? We start with quads, and then after this, we'd move to maybe a deadlift or a bridge on the ground to work the back side of the legs. And then we could go back and forth between those two exercises. So you're being really efficient. There's not a lot of downtime. Go ahead and rest. I'm hearing your breathing. There's not a lot of downtime between. If you're going opposite muscle groups, you can just keep going, which makes it very, very efficient. First, you're burning the quads, then you're burning the hamstrings, then you come back to the quads. And you can get a lot of fatigue and a lot of muscles work very quickly with this method. And then once you've done upper body, some lower body, and you're getting that burn throughout your body, then I'd throw in some core. So go ahead and give me a plank, Emily, on the ground. So we think core, well, the bands aren't anywhere near her core, really, their legs and arms, but blood flow is being slowed down throughout her whole body. So the core is going to fatigue faster. And because of the human growth hormone and other anabolic hormones that are going throughout her entire bloodstream now, her muscles are picking up that human growth hormone, and that protein synthesis is happening all around her body. So it's going to strengthen your core faster. And I like doing the core at the end after you've already got all the burn. So let's hold that for a few more seconds there, Emily, but how are you feeling? You feel
feeling warm.
Feeling warm. So good. Go ahead and relax. So you see, she did one set of biceps, triceps, squats, and plank. And how is your fatigue level compared to what you were doing 4 exercises?
I mean, I feel like I got a little mini workout just by demonstrating.
Yeah. So that is one of the great things. Is it's easy to do. You can do body weight, you can do exercise tubing, you can do very light dumbbells. So you need very little equipment, which makes it perfect for travel, perfect for working out at home. It's a great complement. So I'll talk in a minute about how you fit it in your overall program, because it's not that you necessarily would just do BFR training. How do you fit in your program? But it is a great thing to do in addition to some of your regular training programs. Because it's so easy to do, so efficient. Like that was maybe 3 or 4 minutes of work there, and she's fatigued as if it was much longer than that. And again, that was only going through 1 set. Normally we do at least 2 sets. And for those that have been a little bit acclimated, we'll do at least, we'll go into 3 sets. Anything else you want to add, Emily?
I was skeptical too, and I've seen a lot of benefits. I had a baby about a year ago and had a lot of atrophy, and I'm back cycling, and my strength is a lot better, and it happened within weeks. So, and the efficiency of the workouts is for me a game changer, because I'm I'm working mom, and I didn't do strength because I didn't have 30-45 minutes. So anyways.
So you might think she's my plant because she's my partner, no. but usually, as most of you know out there, your partners are the most skeptical of anything you do. So the fact that she's bought in now says it actually is pretty meaningful. She's a diehard cyclist, endurance, the longer the better. And so the fact that she's into these short workouts and really notices the difference has been pretty cool. So thanks for sharing, Emily. So I'm going to move into some commonly asked questions that I get all the time. If you have any questions so far, feel free to put them in the chat. I'll answer those as well, and then I'll open up the call to some live questions at the end if people want to just kind of discuss a little more casually. So probably the biggest and most important question I get is BFR training safe? Yes, there's been millions of BFR sessions completed without any problems. Japan has been using the technique for over 40 years, very minimal issues. There have been many studies shown the safety and efficacy. I'll send some of those in the follow-up email. There are some slight variations of outcomes in the research, and that is because only recently have people started paying attention to what the actual BFR band is. They used to just BFR training was BFR training, didn't matter the band. Now they realize the band makes a huge difference. So for example, if you use a blood pressure cuff, which is a wide rigid band, and you put that on your arm, which they do that some, and you pump it up to a fairly low pressure, it will stop arterial flow. Now, even then, people have done that a lot of times without issue, but that is when you are at risk of an issue. If you stop your arterial flow for too long, your blood goes into stasis, that's when you're at risk for a blood clot. So a wide rigid cuff is not good to use unless you're at a doctor's office and they have a Doppler and they're measuring it real time. And that's how it used to be. You had to go to someone trained, you had to be in a doctor's office or with a physical therapist, somebody who was trained, and they were monitoring the pressure in your artery and your arterial flow the whole time. That's because they were using the old bands that were too wide and too rigid. Then they went into more narrow bands about this width, but they would be kind of just straps. You might see, if you ever search for BFR, you see them online. They're cheap straps. Bodybuilders would use these a lot. The problem with those is they are not flexible at all. And when your muscle starts to work and it starts to expand, if the band has no ability to expand with you, this can cause muscle tissue damage and or nerve damage. So any of the issues you're seeing in research, and most of these are older, are because using bands that aren't appropriate. The bands that I use, there's two brands that are the exact same brand. One is called B Strong and one is called B3, and they're literally the same patented band, just with different branding on them. I found out about these summer. The guy who invented these was a very well-known cardiologist who worked with super well-respected, worked with a lot of Olympic athletes, and his number one goal, he was very passionate about BFR. He was the number one educated person in the US about BFR, and his goal was to make a simple to use, foolproof, kind of, you can use it on your own band where anyone could use it from home, and that's what he's created. And they've done studies to show the safety and efficacy of these bands. So these bands, when they're on, one unique feature of these bands, and this is kind of, I guess, one of their key patented features, which makes them unique, is that they have individual air chambers. And I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. So if I pump air into this band, notice that it's kind of these little individual pillows. So it's not like a tourniquet. So a lot of bands, it's just a strap. It creates a tourniquet effect. Well, what's the purpose of a tourniquet? To stop blood if you're bleeding for surgery or for an injury. We don't want to completely stop the blood. So this individual air pockets allows blood to still continue to pass through even when it's pumped up. So no matter how tight you pump up this band, if you can go to the maximal pressure on the pump, they've shown with the Doppler, it does not stop your arterial flow. So that makes this band totally safe, and you don't have to worry about measuring the pressure all the time. You just know if you're using this band in the proper placement, it's not going to be cutting off arterial flow, and that's key to keeping it safe. So that's one of the reasons I like this band a lot. There's another band on the market called Katsu. That's actually the band I started with. Those are also safe. The way they get around it, they do have a straight band that's more like a tourniquet, but they have a little pump that pushes pressure into it. It measures the pressure, and every 40 seconds, it releases the pressure, and then it kind of gets, so when it releases the pressure, that gives your blood a chance to circulate a little bit, and then it goes and does the pressure again. I used those for a while. Those are safe. The downsides to me, you had a pump on that needed to be charged. You had tubings that went to the thing. So you're a little bit limited on what you could do. And then you could only pick, either use your upper body or use your lower body. not using all 4 at one time. And with these bands, once you acclimate to the stress, you can use all 4, which makes the workouts more variety, more efficient. You can do full body. You can go back and forth between upper and lower. You get more benefits to the core. So I started with Katsu. They're actually more expensive. They're in the $1,000 to $2,000 range. And I actually got rid of those and went to these because I felt they were that much more easy to use, flexible to use, and also super safe. So how do you fit? So if you're like, okay, I'm interested in BFR, but I already work out a lot. How would I fit this into my program, or how would I use it? There's several ways you can use BFR. And this is where I think it gets into sort of individual programming. But a couple good ways to use it is you can use it at the beginning or end of your workout, just for like 5 or 10 minutes. Just get a quick burn at the beginning to warm up, get some of those great hormones going in your body, or at the end of a session, just burn out. Finish some sets with as much burn as you can to just increase that hit you're going to get with fatigue, human growth hormone, and gaining some strength. So that's a great way. Just do your same program you usually do and just add a little bit of BFR in at the beginning or end. You could also, if you're someone who doesn't exercise a lot, you can just do BFR only, and you can do BFR. Some people do BFR 6 days a week for 10 minutes. That's their whole program. And the results these people are getting is quite impressive. And it's improving the lives of people that have a hard time exercising for longer. The way I use them, I do BFR 3 days a week for 20 minutes. And that's my workout for that day. I push that 20 minutes really hard. I'm super efficient. And then I do another day of heavy strength training without BFR. And my strength has gotten stronger through those because of using BFR. Now on the days I don't use BFR, I've gone up in weight in all my exercises and I'm feeling stronger. And then I do a couple longer cardio days without the BFR. I do one cardio day with the BFR, a 15 to 20 minute interval usually, or hard cardio where I get significant fatigue doing cardio. It's pretty cool. It's a different feeling. You kind of have to try it to kind of get it, but it's pretty great. So again, it depends on your goals and where you're at, but I don't necessarily say that people should only use BFR. I think doing variety is great, but I do think using BFR, I've kind of found that 3 days a week is a sweet spot, but for sure 2 days a week is kind of the minimum. 3 days is kind of the sweet spot to maximize the results from BFR. And then you can do whatever else you like in your program the other days. It's been, my results has improved and the amount of time I work out has gone down. So now on those 3 days that I do 20 minutes of BFR, I usually would have done an hour or so of working out. So it's pretty great. It's motivating. It's fun. Another question I get, and this is kind of one of my favorite questions. So, okay, if this is so great, why don't more people use it? Don't more people know about it? Why isn't it more widely used? And I really think there's 2, maybe 3 primary reasons. First one is, I kind of alluded to this in the beginning. It's got a terrible name, right? Blood flow restriction. It's like, it's hard to get over the hump of like, you need a lot of time to sit down and explain to someone what it actually means, why it works, why it's not scary, why it's safe. And so there's just an immediate sort of hurdle you have to cross there on the name. It's not something catchy and simple for people to do. It's like, okay, we need to understand this to really apply it. The other 2 reasons, and I think these are even more important, is we needed bands that regular people could use. And these bands have only really been around for a few years. The Katsu bands have been around longer, but those were a little bit of the, like I said, $1,000 and I think up to $2,000. They had some of the really expensive multi-$1,000s at doctor's offices and physical therapy offices when the bands first started coming out that they were using, and people couldn't use them by themselves. They needed help. They needed a professional. Or you rolled the dice and you used those cheaper straps, but you weren't sure if you were occluding your artery or not. And maybe it was probably safe, but you're kind of rolling the dice. Like bodybuilders were doing that, but the average person is not going to roll their dice on their health by doing that. So there just wasn't a band that was approachable, affordable, easy to use, and 100% safe until a few years ago. And I think those bands are starting to get out there more now. By the way, I'll talk about this at the end. We have these bands at Evolution, and I do provide these bands, and I do sell these bands, but my goal is not selling these bands. If anyone works with me, I sell these bands at my cost. I do not make money off the bands because I'm not I just want to be authentic about why I like this. I'm not trying to make a buck on this product. I'm trying to make help people and make money through my coaching, which is what my career is. And you sell the bands for my cost so that people are able to get them. I just wanted to say that because as I realize I'm kind of pumping up these bands, but for me, these are the ones that make the most sense. The third reason why I think it hasn't taken off yet is it's still not super well known by the fitness industry. I talk to a lot of coaches out there and they've either never heard of it or maybe they've heard of it or but never tried it. I have 2 doctors that went through my virtual training, BFR training program a couple months ago who had heard a lot about BFR and believed in it and read the science, but they just weren't sure where to start. And if doctors who understand the science aren't sure where to start, our clients aren't going to be sure where to start. So there haven't really been, there's not a lot of high quality coaching programs that really help guide people how to start safely and successfully, and then continue to coach them through progressions over time so they can keep improving and making gains and figure out how to fit it into the rest of their life and the rest of their exercise program. There's just not that support out there yet. And I truly believe without that kind of support and coaching and programming, there's just not going to be that many people that do it on their own. There's going to be the people who are really kind of out there on their fitness and kind of willing to do whatever and work hard and are willing to learn about things on their own, but that's a very small percentage of the total population. So in order for us to get this out broadly, we need more trainers and coaches that are doing programs. So any of the trainers and coaches on today that want to learn more about it, reach out to me. There's a great certification program. I've done 2 certifications from 2 different companies already, and they're great just to really learn exactly how to support people through this. So obviously, my goal today is mostly just to open people's mind about BFR, maybe get a little curious about it. And if you are curious and you want to learn more, I'll share with you some ways you can learn more. And then I'm going to answer the questions in the chat. I see several that went in there, so that's great. After the webinar, I'll send a follow-up email with some resources, some studies, some science. So if you want to look into more of that side of things, you can do that. Feel free to reach out with questions. As I find more resources, I will continue to share them with anyone who is interested. You can follow us on Instagram. Evolution.trainers is our handle on Instagram. We're going to be posting more BFR education and information there. With the amount of interest I got in this webinar today, I plan on continuing to do more webinars, maybe 1 a month or so, being able to have more Q&A. And if there's different topics or different questions you want to hear more about, let me know. I'm going to send a quick survey after this. So let me know what you'd be interested in learning more about, and I'm happy to do more of that. If you want to give it a try, we have BFR bands available at Evolution. You can come in for a 30-minute free consult, and myself or one of our certified BFR trainers, we have, I think, about 15 of our trainers certified in BFR now, can show you so you can experience for yourself how it feels, if you think it's a fit for you. My mission is to really help as many people as I can with this, people that don't necessarily live close to Evolution. So I've created a 21-day intro to BFR virtual program where you can do from anywhere. I'm offering for anyone on the webinar interested in that, I'll send out more information. I'm offering $50 off on that for anyone that's on the webinar. I basically will be charging just $150 for that program, and then you get the bands at cost. So you save about $100 on the bands. So really the program's not costing you much more than the bands would cost you themselves. And I'm purposely trying to price it as affordable as possible so that people can participate. The bands, I sell the bands, they're normally $450. If you seek them out online, I sell them for $350 with the cost of my program. There is a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you want to try it and you're not sure, I 100% would be fine to I don't want to have anyone do this that it's not a fit for. I'm genuinely trying to help people. So it's not going to be a risk to you if you want to give it a shot. Like I said, if there's any doctors or trainers or PTs on here that want to learn more about BFR and use it with your practice, I super support that because I'm trying to just get as many people on this as possible. Reach out to me and I'm happy to chat with you more. All right, so I'm going to go into the chat and then I'm going to open up the phones a little bit. So first question, how do you know your bands are on correctly? Great question. I have a video on that I can share, but essentially you want them as high on the arms as you can. just right under your armpit, kind of right below your deltoid, above your bicep. And you should know if it's hurting your bicep, that means it's too low, but really just put them as high as you possibly can, and that should be correct. And then use the pump. It tells you on the band, it will give you the amount of pressure. So like this band says 150. So when I wear this band, I know to pump it to 150, at least as a starting place. But as I said, I can send a video that gives some more detail on that. But essentially high as you can on the arm and pretty much as high as you can on your leg, as long as you can still fully bend your leg. You want it just under your glute and up high in your adductor. Is it okay to release a little air if the band feels too tight? Absolutely. So you pump it up, you start exercising and you're like, oh, it's just feeling too restrictive. It's not just the burn, but I'm feeling, then you can just push this little nozzle right here and a little air will come out, and you can just do that live time in the middle of your set, and that will let air out. Let's see. Let's see, why is this limited to 3 sessions a week, each for 20 minutes? I would like to do 5 times a week for 30 to 45 minutes. Oh, this is a good question. So technically, you don't want to do BFR for longer than about 20 minutes at a time. Now, after you get acclimated and you feel good, you can probably push this up a little bit. But because it's a pretty good stress on your body, you don't want to overdo it. And 30 to 45 minutes, 5 times a week with BFR is too much. It's too much volume. So that's why I would do, I would do up to 4 sessions a week of maybe 25 minutes, 30 max. And then I would do a couple sessions without it. If you want to do BFR like 5 or 6 times a day, then I would 5 a week. Sorry, I would just shorten the time. And then basically go on how you feel. If you're overdoing it, you're going to feel fatigued. But this is not a more is better necessarily. You should be getting enough fatigue with this. If you're able to go 45 minutes with your bands, then you're probably not executing properly, because you should be too fatigued to really do it that long. If you want to do strength and cardio in one day, you could do a 20-minute strength workout, take the bands off, take a break, hydrate, get some water, and then do a 20-minute cardio workout. So that would give you 40 minutes, and that would be fine. But I wouldn't try to do 40 minutes straight of strength. Let's see. Let's see. What is the starting goal for a plank? How soon do you increase? You just start with a plank, and I would just hold it as long as you can till you feel fatigue. And then at that point, you would just stop or put your knees down and try to hold it a little longer. So I wouldn't say there's a specific starting goal. It just is very personal to each person. So I would just time yourself the first time. How long can you hold it for? And then give yourself a goal to working up from there. All right. So great questions. I'll go ahead and unmute, or anyone that wants to unmute. Oh, well, one more question coming in. Let's see. Is there research indicating BFR helps heal degrading joints? Oh, that's a great question. So what BFR does, first of all, it allows you to do lighter loads, so you're not putting as much stress on the joints. It's not necessarily going to heal degrading joints. I don't know what you mean by that exactly, but if it's like less cartilage, more arthritis, it's not necessarily going to heal that, but it does increase blood flow. So there's many people. I have a client that has significant knee issue and will eventually probably need a knee replacement, but her pain has subsided tremendously using BFR because of the increased blood flow. And because she's able to get her muscles surrounding the joint stronger without stressing the joint. So it will be beneficial to arthritic joints, but it doesn't necessarily heal them, if that makes sense. Great question though. All right, any other questions before we wrap up here? Oh, we've gone a little long, so appreciate all you guys hanging out for the whole time. If anyone wants to unmute and have a question or say anything, you're free to. Otherwise, I will be sending out a follow-up email with this recording, with a short survey, with some links to research and some links to how to get started if you're interested. And if you want to reach out to me with any questions or anything, I'm here to help and would be happy to do that. So thanks again so much.
Ashley,
Yeah.
quick question. So
Yeah.
did you say it's better on the arm section and the leg section to rotate, like if you're doing 4 arms, just to do each one once and go back and do the second rep of each one, or you just do it sequentially for that one specific rep? Is there a better way?
I usually do at least 2 exercises back to back so that I'm not resting as much, just to be efficient. You could just say, okay, I'm just gonna do biceps and I'm gonna rest a little bit, but then to me, it's a little bit wasted time. So I would do biceps, then triceps, and then biceps. Sometimes I throw 3 exercises in. You can do 4, but then it might not be getting quite as much fatigue by the time you get back to the first muscle group again. It might have had, a little more rest, even though it's not going to fully recover with the BFR on. But I usually like to do circuits of 2 to 3 exercises and rotate around those.
And then just do it and then go immediately into the next one. And
yeah, because you're going to do the next exercise would be a different muscle group, ideally. So yeah, like biceps, triceps, shoulders, you're hitting 3 different muscle groups, just going around like that.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Good question. All right. Well, thanks again, you guys, so much. Really excited with all the interest today. I hope this was helpful. I hope that you found some benefit from learning about it, and maybe piqued your interest a little bit. And I'll send out some more information so you can learn more. And I'll see you guys hopefully soon. Thank you.